Tech and welcome to my review of the NZXT S340 Elite case. Now this case has only just been released and I can say that it's hit its market very well. There are two things that this case offers: a very nice tempered glass side panel and VR capability, or a VR orientated case design for a very cheap and very affordable price point. Well, we'll start off with what the case looks like. Well, its main feature is of course the big glass, tempered glass side panel, which is probably one of the best side panels that I've seen on a case, mainly because it's very scratch resistant, which is very useful for when you're taking it on and off, when you're building it and when you're doing customization, changing it over the years or however long you have the case for. The I/O on the front of the case is quite impressive for a case of this price point. You have two 3.5mm jacks, for the microphone and the headphone socket. Then you also have the VR HDMI pass-through socket. You have two USB 3.0s and two USB 2.0s, and then you also have the power button as well. Now for me, the power button is quite an important part of a case, because it's something you touch every day. At least I do. And a very nice button, or very satisfying button, is a very important thing. And on this case, it is quite a cheap case, so the button is just a click. It's not a nice sort of push in. It doesn't really have any travel to it, is what I'm trying to say. So, not the best button experience in my opinion, but that's probably not as important to a lot of people as it is to me. Now this case is branded for VR, so you have that HDMI pass-through and those two 3.0 sockets for VR, which is a great little bonus and a very useful thing if you're going to be buying this case for VR, and which is why they've aimed the case towards VR users. Now on the front of the case you also have, an option for a magnetic little holder for what I use my headphones, which I use to put my headphones on, and you can also use it to put your Oculus or HTC Vive or whatever you use on there as well. So it's a nice little place to put it, and it's nice that they included it. I quite like it, especially for wrapping the cable around for my headset. That is a big bonus, and it's nice. It's a nice little place to keep it, in my opinion. On the glass side panel, it's quite nice how they got the rubber grommets on them to make sure that the glass isn't scratched from the knobs that you put that you use to push it on and off. That's a very nice feature, and glad that they thought about that. So it will last a long time if you happen to be taking off the glass side panel quite a bit. Now this is a mid-tower case, which means it supports a full ATX board and ITX boards, so you have plenty of room in there. And actually what I will say is that in here you have a lot of room in the main compartment, and you also have a lot of room in the back in terms of cable management and cable pass-through, for all your cable management needs. In terms of hard drive capacity on this thing, you have enough space for 3 hard drives and 3 SSDs, which is plenty in my opinion for a case like this. It's not really meant for a big storage server or anything like that. It's really meant just for standard PC with, a normal size memory inside it, normal size hard drive and SSD space in it. The case has 2 fans built in on it, one on the top and one on the back. And then there's also a big dust filter on the front if you want to put in up to a 240mm radiator. And now, as you can see from this picture, I have a non-modular power supply, and I think I've done a pretty good job at making sure that you cannot see any of these cables in this massive octopus of just a cable mess coming out of it from this power supply. So there is room in the back of the case if you don't have too many hard drives. I have 1 hard drive and 1 SSD. So if you don't have all that much in terms of hard drive capacity back there, if you don't have many hard drives back there, you have a lot of room to hide all these massive cables if you are like me and don't have a modular power supply. One of the things I love about this case on the back of it is the clips it has for routing cables through without having to mess around with cable ties and things like that. It's all built in with the clips, and that makes adding wires, rerouting wires, all that so much easier without any hassle. But there are of course little loops as well that you can put cable ties through if you so desire. All the holes that pass through to the front of the case are all in very good very good places, very useful places to route cables through. So you don't have any cables flying around in the display portion of the case, which is looking through the glass side panel. So you have a very good view of it, and your PC it's very easy to make your PC look good and presentable, especially if you put in some nice LED lighting in it as well. That's a top-notch thing, that is. So many of the bits that you can take off this case to get to places all use little thumb screws which don't come all the way out. You don't have to unscrew them properly, which means they're not going to fly off and you're going to lose them. So that is another great feature which I had on my old case, which I didn't have on my old case, and I've actually lost 2 of the screws from my old case because of that. And the fact that these screws are of that design, not having to take the screws all the way out, that is a big plus as well. So I love that. So overall, I think this case is absolutely brilliant if you're looking for a high quality case with a good budget price point, and one that also looks very modern. There's also a white version of this case as well if you want to look at that, and that looks even more modern if you're going for white, but black is what I have, and it's a very simple minimalistic design. It looks great, probably on any desk or under any desk or however you keep it. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, then do hit the like button down below and subscribe as well. It'll be lovely, and I'll see you in the next video.